This is a Sports Catastrophe production. A programming note. Because February 19th was one of the most dull days in sports history, there will be no on this day about it, but there will be a birthday boy. Enjoy. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And today's birthday boy is one of the best pitchers in Oakland history. Not really Blue Jays history, although he did help the Blue Jays win the '93 World Series. It's Dave Stewart. Today he is 64 years old, born February 19, 1957. He is a baseball executive, a pitching coach, a sports agent, and a former starting pitcher. He was a 16th round pick from the LA Dodgers in the '75 MLB draft. His playing career spanned from '78 to '95, winning 3 World Series championships, while winning 20 games in 4 straight seasons. He pitched for the Dodgers, Rangers, Phillies, A's, and of course, the Blue Jays. Stewart was known for his postseason performance, winning MVP of the World Series once and 2 LCS, or League Championship Series, MVPs. He served as a pitching coach for the Padres, Brewers, and Jays, and as assistant GM. He was made GM of Arizona for 2 years before he got fired. So he was born in Oakland. He was offered scholarships to play football, but he decided to go ahead and play baseball because LA drafted him in the draft. Stewart was actually a catcher, but because of his strong arm, he was turned into a pitcher. So he went through the minor league system and all that. He made his MLB debut with the Dodgers September 1978, pitching a few innings relief against the Padres. He basically went to AAA for a while. Stewart went to spring training with the Dodgers in '81 because he was out of options, as in basically if Stewart was sent down to AAA, the Dodgers couldn't risk losing him through waivers. The Dodgers couldn't send him back to the minors without risking losing him to another team. They tried to release him, but they eventually cut Don Stanhouse instead. He made the Dodgers opening day roster and pitched in relief with 6 saves. He got his first Major League win in his first appearance of the '81 season against the Giants. When the baseball players went on strike, that was the year of the strike, he was hard-pressed financially and went to work for a Dodger fan that owned a metal fastener business and actually went with a semi-pro team alongside Bobby Castillo. Unfortunately, Dave Stewart was credited with being the losing pitcher in both games 1 and 2 of the divisional round against the Houston Astros, because he was the one who allowed that walk-off homer to Alan Ashby in Game 1. He would not pitch again till the '81 World Series with the Dodgers. In 2 games, he didn't give up a run, but he didn't get a decision either. He was basically a starting reliever in '82 and did okay. The Dodgers were going to get rid of Dave Stewart to Texas for Jim Sundberg, who was a good catcher, but Sundberg had no trade clause and didn't want to waive it. He did okay and all that. However, the Dodgers traded him to the Rangers anyway the next year in 1983. Traded him to the Rangers for Rick Honeycutt. People didn't like the trade because they thought that the Rangers GM got too little in exchange for his team's best pitcher. Honeycutt would be better known as a reliever after he left Texas. Stewart was in the starting rotation, and he actually was 5-2, which isn't that bad. But in '84, he really struggled. And the new pitching coach, Tom House, he of the guy who caught Hank Aaron's 715th home run ball over the left field fence in Atlanta, was actually the team's new pitching coach. So he decided to say that Stewart needed a new pitcher. So they taught him a split-finger fastball. Despite that, he was not that good and all that. Dave Stewart had a lot of issues, so they decided to trade him to Philadelphia for Rick Surhoff. So basically, with the Rangers, he was 0-6 with a 5.42 ERA. In Philadelphia, he actually, while with Philly, he was negotiating with the Yomiuri Giants of the Japanese Baseball League. However, they couldn't come to contract, so he signed the Phillies. Unfortunately, Stewart had a terrible ERA, all that, and then he got released. Stewart then tried out for Baltimore, but they didn't even have a spot for him in Double A. He ended up signing a free agency deal with Oakland. He actually got in a bit of trouble July 1st when he punched the manager of the Cleveland Indians during a game, which initiated a brawl. He got a 4-game suspension for that. Stewart actually developed a forkball to supplement his fastball and slider, so he went 9-5. Not bad. So Stewart signed a 2-year contract and won 20 games in the 1987 season, striking out 205 pitchers, which is amazing. Then he went 21-12 with a 3.23 ERA in 1988, leading the AL in complete games and innings pitched. Stewart was the starting pitcher in Game 1 of the 88 World Series against the Dodgers, and he figured he had the win after Jose Canseco's grand slam. All that. He was in line for the win, but unfortunately, Kirk Gibson hit that homer off accuracy to ruin Stewart's chances. Stewart pitched Game 4 and didn't do that well. But Stewart didn't waver. He was 21-9 with a 3.32 ERA and 36 starts. And he finished second in Cy Young to Brett Saberhagen. But he won the World Series. He actually won both games of the ALCS against the Blue Jays with a 2.81 ERA. Stewart pitched Game 1 against the Giants and pitched a complete game shutout. Of course, the series was interrupted when the San Francisco earthquake hit before Game 3. Basically, when the series started 10 days later, Stewart actually was well enough to pitch Game 3, and he did. And all that. He was named MVP. He signed a 2-year, $7 million contract extension with the A's after the season. In 1990, he was 22-11, which was amazing. 4th straight 20-win season. He led the AL in innings pitched, complete games, and shutouts, but only took 3rd in Cy Young footing. However, he got a no-hitter against my boys, the Blue Jays, at Skydome of all places. And the first no-hitter by African American since Jim Bibby in 1973. I didn't know Jim Bibby was black. I know he played for Texas. But anyway, ironically enough, that same day, Fernando Valenzuela pitched a no-hitter for the Dodgers against the Cardinals. First and only time that no-hitters have been thrown in both leagues on the same day. The A's won another pennant, beating Boston in the LCS, and Stewart was 2-0 with a 1.13 ERA. Stewart pitched Game 1 for the A's against the Reds. However, the Reds would pull off a 4-game sweep and all that. I mean, Dave Stewart pitched a complete game in Game 4, but they still lost the game because Oakland's offense just sucked for some reason. So unfortunately, he had injury issues after that. In 91, he had a strained rib muscle, which cost him to lose 3 weeks. He was not that dominant and only went 11-11. In 92, he had elbow tendonitis, but only made 31 starts, his fewest in 6 years, and had a 12-10 mark. He did pitch in the ALCS for Oakland. He pitched Game 1. He had a no decision in that game because the Blue Jays gave up the run and winning run. Like, Dave Stewart pitched a complete game victory in Game 5 against the Jays to put the series at 3-2 for Toronto. Game 6 was not good as Toronto won on home turf. Strange as it sounded, Stewart actually decided to join the Blue Jays December 1992. He got a 2-year, $8.5 million contract. He was sad to leave the A's, but the Jays gave him respect and all that. As a part of the Blue Jays rotation, he was 12-8 with a 4.44 ERA. He had a lot of injuries and all that. But the Blue Jays stuck with him because of his competitiveness and Stewart's ability to talk to the other starting pitchers. Stewart pitched Game 2 of the ALCS and only allowed 1 run in 6 innings to pick up the win. He escaped a bases-loaded situation with no outs in the 6th inning without giving up anything. before Game 6 of the World Series, Game 6 of the LCS, he actually was in Toronto helping Salvation Army deliver food to the homeless in Toronto. He did make it to the game on time and pitched 7 innings in the clinching game for the Blue Jays to go back to the World Series. That being Game 6, of course. And obviously it was named CS MVP. STewart got the starting Game 2 of the World Series against the Phillies, but sadly, though, he struggled, giving up a big 3-run home run to Jim Eisenreich and basically took the loss. He was confident in Game 6. And, STewart had a 5-1 lead, and then he and the bullpen imploded a bit. Philly was up 6-5 until the bottom of the ninth, and we all know what happened then. Joe Carter, 3-run home run. STewart remained with the Jays, being 7-8 with a 5.87 ERA, but the baseball strike wiped out the season. He planned to retire after the baseball thing because of the lack of empathy on the part of the fans towards the players. He actually re-signed with the A's in April '95 and was named opening day starter. Sadly, though, he couldn't recapture his form. He got rocked for 9 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Ironically, it was in Toronto. He was 3-7 with a 6.89 ERA. Basically, that STewart might have to move to the bullpen, but he decided to retire. He just couldn't perform. He was 8-0 in the LCS and 2-6 in otherwise. So basically, he was Mr. LCS. How can he win 8 games in League Championship Series without losing 1? That's amazing. So basically, yeah, he was given a lot of assistance jobs, and he did okay in a sense. Dave Stewart was actually supposed to have his number 34 jersey retired in 2020, but because of COVID, he can't. So yeah, Stewart and his ex-wife had 2 children. Stewart was arrested for having a prostitute, which was actually a transvestite. Stewart's judgment was a fine, probation, and suspended sentence. Ironically, a couple days later, he was awarded with a Good Guys Award, but he said he felt ashamed getting it. But yeah, Dave Stewart was basically the piece that the Blue Jays needed after Jack Morris went downhill, after Dave Steep basically went to Chicago, and after who left? And basically when Jimmy Key left for the Yankees, the Blue Jays needed some starting pitching. Remember, the Blue Jays lost like 11 players off that 92 roster towards 93, but they rebuilt it. They lost Winfield. They gained Paul Molitor. They lost Jimmy Key. They got Dave Stewart. It all fits in perfectly. But anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I'll do